Welcome to I'm Here to Talk, and I'm here to talk. Today's episode is about that one person. Yep, you heard me right. Now, we all have that one person in our lives, right? That one person that triggers, the most emotions out of you, whether they're negative or positive. It doesn't matter, but we all have that one person. You know exactly what I mean. And this is what we are discussing today. So, first off, let's start the whole subject with dividing the differentiations, if that makes sense. Obviously, the differences between male and female, generally speaking, mind you, generally speaking, for the most part. For me, I have come to learn that it is completely different when it comes to male and female, when the subject of that one person in their life is there. It's completely different for both. For a female, it's usually that one guy in her life. For a male, it's usually the first ever girl in his life, if that makes sense, right? So for a female, it could have been her second ever relationship, her third ever relationship. It doesn't have to have been the first. For a man, it's always, or mostly always, his first ever love experience, right? Is the one that they find kind of difficult to detach from or are influenced by for the rest of their life, right? Because trust me, and this is coming from a man, ladies, really, it doesn't fucking matter if we went to the moon and fucking back together. Habiba from 7th grade, she's her. My first ever love, my first ever experience. She's her. She's the one that changed me forever. It's legitimately that way. For a woman, she could have her first experience and not remember it the second day. And this is like the harsh reality of it, right? For a woman, that one guy in her life isn't really controlled by the aspect of it being the first or the last or whatever. For the most part, from what I've come to learn, I see that women usually, their one person in their life, right, is the person they had the most experiences with. It's the person that they've seen the most with, done the most with, said the most with, For a man, it's completely different. In fact, as I said, a man could have as many experiences as possible with a person, but they would still not ever be able to replace that person with their first ever lover when it comes to, how it affects them and how it influenced them for the rest of their life, right? Now, this is obviously coming from a man, right? And everybody has their opinions. I promise you, I would love to hear your opinions, right? But I couldn't give less of a shit. Like, it will not change my opinion, but I would love to hear your opinions. And this is what I'm doing right now, right? I'm sitting here, I'm letting you guys know my opinions. And I would hope that it wouldn't alter your opinions unless you genuinely start to realize, oh, you know what? Like, this guy's actually making sense. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. For me personally, what podcast episode would this be if I don't talk to you guys a little about my personal experiences? My goodness. All right. So for me personally, right, I've lived a hectic 22 years of life up until now. I promise you, many experiences. Just the perfect persona, just sit down here and chat shit on a podcast, honestly. When I tell you that, I'm not going to lie to you, right? I have never really had difficulty with heartbreak or breakups or these case situations, these scenarios. I've never really been the type of person that would be like really affected by something like that whatsoever. I've come to learn that I'm not as, affected as the average man in these case situations or these scenarios. However, I am also human, right? Therefore, I've also had my experiences just like anyone else. When I tell you that I've come to learn up until now, I am a 22-year-old man. I've reflected on my life a bunch, obviously, at this point. And when I tell you that I've come to learn that I have never been genuinely affected from a breakup or a heartbreak, except for my first one, I'm not kidding you. It's difficult to explain. After a man has their first heartbreak or breakup or whatever, it really changes them. It really does change them. And I don't think people really understand how much, except the men that actually go through these things, how much it does change them, right? That boy in them dies, right? Becomes a man and just thinks in a completely different way, approaches life in a completely different way and whatnot. Once more, we get back to the subject of having that one person in your life. A man will always, or find it difficult to get over their first lover, right? And not because they are in love with their first lover. And let me tell you something, by the way, a lot of time it doesn't have to do with love, right? It just has to do with the experience itself, right? Now, I'm being completely honest when I talk about this. For women, right? The him in her life is the guy she had the most experiences with. She made the most memories with. She, was the happiest with, or whatever, right? For a man, it's not that whatsoever. It just has to be their first experience where they were genuinely in love. And by the way, their first experience when they were genuinely in love, mind you. I also do think that men and women, right, approach things such as heartbreak and breakups completely differently, right? Like, obviously, for a man, right, the difficult part of the whole, cutting ties with that one person or whatever is probably the disappointment in oneself. Most of the time, men's negative emotions after something like that is regarding to the disappointment they have in themselves, not really regarding, the person or losing them. And this is something a lot of people don't talk about. Men genuinely, or at least this is me personally speaking, the part that hurts the most is the pride, right? Like how would I even be in this position, or what even got me in this position, right? It's not about the person or losing the person, right? Now for women, I believe it's different. I believe it's about the person and losing the person. And they also think about it from the stance of this shouldn't have even happened. That's how they reflect onto it. And that's why it ends up being the man views that one person as a source of motivation, and the woman views that one person as a source of, trauma, right? Now, mind you, once more, I remind you, this is my personal opinion. Bear with me. I'm actually kind of fucking retarded. So here's the thing, right? From these case scenarios and the difference between men and women, how they react to them and whatnot, the issue is, and the problem is, right, is not knowing oneself's value in these case scenarios. Now, what that means, when you think you have that one person in your life, right, chances are you're their person too. Like, chances are. I can't promise you it's not all the time, right? But chances are that way, because at the end of the day, they're human just like you. You're human just like them, right? If you have been through so much and then something happened or whatever the heck, right, that made you guys cut ties, that resulted in you always, viewing them a different way, or oh, that's her, that's him in my life, right? It will probably have resulted in the same for them as well, right? But you need to be realistic, because I see fucking goofballs going around all the time thinking that there's someone in someone's life when they don't even know they fucking exist. I swear to you, I see these people all the time. It's so sad. It's like whatever, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much, the idea of, that one person and, the mutuality of it is what I was just talking about. Most of the time, if you have that one person in your life, you're their person too, right? So, but most of the time. It's so funny how that whole subject works, right? Now, and this leads me to talk about another point that I really don't know what you might think of, but once more, I don't really care. I'd love for you to, share your opinions, and I'd love for us to be open with each other, but I don't really care what anyone has to say about my opinions, because They are my opinions. They're not going to change. And they're not my opinions out of my ass, right? They're my opinions through the life I've lived and through the experiences I've had. So yeah, I'd love for us to share opinions, to teach each other stuff. But I would really like to build also like a platform here where, you know, we all openly discuss and whatnot our opinions, but, you know, each and every person knows their opinion, you know, like won't really be altered unless they're convinced. Obviously, that's a different story. But yeah, so this leads me to talk about a subject that I actually do want to talk about. This is why most of the time men shy away from women that have had many men in their lives before them. Why is that? Because men are aware of that point, or for the most part, men are at the back of their heads aware of the point that with women, right? It's like, let's say a man is interested in a woman and he's interested in a potential future relationship with the woman that is serious and, you know, will lead on to good things in the future, right? And he finds out that that woman has been with 10 men before him, like serious relationships or whatever, right? You know, that is your biggest sign to run the fuck away. I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not. But anyways, I'm just like, that wasn't my point. My point was that, you know, people will often, you know, talk about that subject and be like, this, that. It's really, you need to understand, it's not about that as much as like men sometimes actually sit down and worry for the future of their relationship when it comes to points like these. So I know that I'm this woman's fucking 100th boyfriend or whatever. What makes me sure that no matter what I do for her, no matter how hard I try for her, no matter anything and everything, that I wouldn't be sitting with her and, you know, we're cuddling, you know, being romantic and whatnot, while it's being sure that none of these motherfuckers are in her head right now. You know what I'm saying? And women will immediately go to the point of, oh, insecure. Put yourself in their shoes. It's not about insecurity. It's about security, actually. It's not about insecurity. In fact, it's about security. When a man thinks that way, he's trying to secure himself and his relationship. And then women throw insecure. It's like, no, that's in and of itself security. He's literally trying to be secure. He's going out of his way to be secure. So that's what I find so funny about that, because if women try for a second to put their, you know, themselves in the man's shoes for certain reactions or certain things they might not like or whatnot, they realize, holy shit, like, what the fuck was I talking about? You know what I'm saying? And mind you, this goes for both ways, both genders. Like, I promise you. Like, I'm not here to, you know, say this or that biasly or whatever. No. I'm here to speak fairly regarding my opinion from what I've learned, from what I personally experienced, you know, saw with my own eyes, and, you know, and yeah. So when I'm talking about that point, right, it leads me to something else to kind of mention or talk about. So for me personally, right, we're gonna give you guys a little, you know, personal information here. Because I mean, who would I be, right, if I want to have this unfiltered podcast, you know, with you guys and whatnot, and you know, I worry about, you know, trust me, trust me, I am fucking crazy. I will say anything at any time. I don't give a fuck. Anyways, for me personally, I have never ever, you know, found it like difficult to cut ties with anyone, right? Except for my first girlfriend. Yeah. Except for my first girlfriend. That was, I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, like, every man will be a man, right? The first time, as tough as you are, will always get to you. I could confidently share that I don't think I've experienced any difficulty after any, ending of a relationship in my life, except my first ever breakup. That fucking hurt. That fucking hurt. I swear to you. No. That shit, like, I didn't even know how to deal with that shit at the time, bro. I didn't even know how to deal with it. Like, I'm about to name drop. I don't give a fuck. Nicole, you really fucked me up at the time. I'm fine now, obviously. Look at me. I'm fine now. But at the time, you really fucked me up. Oh my goodness. Fuck you, Nicole. Anyways, so this is my personal experience, right? And I've come to learn that on average, a man's first lover is their person. By the way, I'm not saying Nicole's my person. Fuck Nicole. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, and I'm not even saying I have a person. This is what's so funny. This whole episode's about that one person, but what's so funny is that I'm sitting here like, I don't even know if I have that one person to really share with you guys or whatnot. The reason I mentioned my first ever girlfriend was because if I had to at least say that one person, I guess it would be related to the time where I found it most difficult to part ways or whatever. And that definitely would have been, my first ever breakup. My first ever, breakup. I wouldn't say heartbreak. I wasn't heartbroken, right? No, I was pretty fucked up. Not gonna lie to you. I was pretty fucked up. But yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much, my personal experience with that. And I think most men would agree. Most men would sit here and share the fact that their first ever love was, in fact, and their actual first ever love. Keyword actual. Like, I'm not first relationship, first ever love. You know what's so funny? It doesn't even have to be their first relationship. It could just be their first ever love. That's what's so, it's so interesting about men. Us men, it really is about, the experience, right? It's in and of itself, the first one. It's not about who they were or what they were about. No. It's about that, right? The fact that they were the first ever experience. A woman could have her first, second, third experience and not fucking think of these people the second after they separate. The second. Try to prove me wrong. You probably can't, right? But now see how that woman is like around that one person in her life. Probably even way worse than when a man has that one person in their life. You could see the trauma on their face whenever their name is mentioned or whenever anything related to them is just in the equation, right? For a man, it's not that deep, right? To that extent, right? Where they're completely, messed up and oh my God, whenever they're brought up, whenever they're this, whenever they're that. But that's not because that's not what's going on in here, right? Or here, it's just that at that point, if a man has had that one person and it's a story in the past, at that point, they're probably really good at hiding it, right? But trust me, when that name is mentioned or when that person is brought into the equation whatsoever, yeah, trust me, whether they're showing it to you or not, that man's heart is stinging. It's stinging. You know what I'm saying? We all know the heart sting, right? The heart sting. My next point, right? Only that one person can cause the heart sting. Am I right? And I think we all know what we're talking about here, or what I'm talking about here when I say the heart sting, right? Everyone's experienced the heart sting. I mean, it's, most people would find it not fun. If you're a psychopath like me, you'd probably find it fun. It is kind of fun. I don't but that's the idea. I feel like when we talk about, the difference between men and women and regarding that one person in their life and whatnot, I feel like it's kind of similar to the subject of, how men react in general to difficult situations in their lives versus how women react in general to difficult situations in their lives. Now, men, like I sort of mentioned before, they perceive and conceive the emotions differently, right? Let's say, for example, a man has a woman and she ends up leaving him. Most of the time, the man, right, the aftermath of his emotions and feelings and whatnot, his feelings and emotions are kind of like this. Let me give you an idea. How could I possibly put myself in this position? This is my fault and only my fault. And I'm talking about a man's man, by the way. I'm talking about a man's man, like a man, not boys. Modern day, people commonly mistake boys for men and men for boys and whatever the fuck. They're not the same thing, right? Just such as a girl is not the same thing as a woman, and a woman is not the same thing as a girl. Anyways, so a man will think about it this way. How could I possibly be put in this position or put myself in this position? This is my fault and nobody else's. Never again. That's literally how men think. How could this happen to me? Never again. I never want this to happen to me again. So I will go out of my way to prevent it. But for women, it's sort of different, right? For women, it's like, how could this happen to me? This shouldn't have even happened to me. And that's why men end up taking that moment in their life as like a declaration of, I will show you. And women take it as like, they are permanently from this moment affected in their life. It literally permanently affects them forever. They will never forget about it. A man can only not stop thinking about it until he achieves what he wants to achieve. But for a woman, my personal opinion, they will never stop thinking about it. Even when they meet the love of their life and get married, guess what? That one person will come to her head from time to time. A man will never be like that. If he is in love, married, and has everything going on for him, that one person in their life, what person? I have my person. That's how a man would be like. A woman, nah, it will always stay her dramatic love story forever and all that bullshit and whatnot. But that's fine. I'm just here to say how things are, right? But yeah, so obviously that one person is pretty, interesting subject. It's obviously different for both male and female. I've shared to you guys my opinions. Once more, I'd love for you guys to share your opinions. I just want to build a platform where we all share our opinions and we all teach each other. However, at the end of the day, not just because this person has that opinion, we're all entitled to it or whatever the heck. No, we're here, we're discussing. Not just because we had a sit down and we talked means that we're supposed to get up all having the same opinions now. No. We're just supposed to teach each other why we have the opinions that we have. And I'm sitting here telling you guys about my opinions and why I have the opinions I have and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Had a lot of fun with you in this episode. That one person, a subject that will be sensitive for all of us, for a pretty long time. So yeah, I thought you guys would find it interesting to hear my opinions on the subject. I would find it really interesting to hear your opinions on the subject. So please leave your opinions in the comments below. And yeah, guys, it's been real. Keep it real, like usual. And I'll smell you later. Again.